From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Sidney Crosby's new agent, also known as Jaime Hixson.
And I'm Evgeny Malkin's newest agent, as well as Matt Murray and the rest of the 2017 Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins agent, also known as Eric Rosen. Thank you for going with that long introduction.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. We're very happy that you could join us this evening. Before I start the show, though, I want to give a special word of well wishes to my beloved fiance, Jennifer DeRue. Unfortunately, she's going through a very, very painful medical ordeal right now, which could very well require a surgical procedure. So I just want to say, darling, I certainly hope that you pull through this. And once you do, you can return home, get plenty of rest, and we could get back to planning our lives together. So please get better soon. I love you always. And I certainly hope that you don't do too much on the morphine, let's put it that way. She's getting a little too attached to the morphine, if you know what I mean. Well, but then again, that's what happens when you go through an ordeal like she's going through.
She'll get the help that she needs, and everything will be all right.
Yeah, the cold reality about this is that we have to move forward, especially considering that a season ended and a champion was crowned just last night, and in really dramatic fashion, too.
Yep, but before we get into Game 6, look at the previous games that we didn't discuss from last week, Game 4. At that point, the Penguins had a 2-1 lead. The Predators still needed to even the series to force a Game 6 back home in Nashville, and they did that. Why? Frederick Gaudreau. That's right. The rookie had a Stanley Cup final debut for the ages, including the game-winning goal that he had when first actually it was Yarncroft who got the leading goal, 14:51 into the game, off a tap-in off of Murray's pads. 66 seconds later, Sidney Crosby on a breakaway ties the game, faking the slap shot, and still gets it past Pecorini. Then Rinnie made some great stops on Jensel and even on a breakaway attempt by Chris Kunitz. And it was really just amazing what happened next. It was the wraparound by Frederick Gaudreau off of Matt Murray. And here's the thing. Pittsburgh challenged the play. They thought it didn't go in, but it crossed the goal line. Remember that same situation that happened to the Rangers in the semifinals against the Ottawa Senators for Vesey?
Yeah.
So the same thing for Frederick Gaudreau. It was 2-1 Nashville. And then the third goal, Arvidsson scored for Nashville on a puck from James Neal to Mike Fisher, the captain, feeding to Arvidsson underneath the glove of Matt Murray and inside the right post. And then Forsberg with the empty netter. They won 4-1 in Game 4, evening the series at 2 games apiece. Then came the insane Game 5 back in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh owned Nashville from breakfast, lunch, and dinner, including 3 goals in the first 20 minutes that pretty much took Pecorini out of the game. And on top of that, Saros, the backup, didn't do any better when he gave up a goal to Connor Sheary that made 4-0.
Yeah.
How about Phil Kessel with that insane goal? First goal in 6 games, made it 5-0. And then finally, the last goal of the game by Ron Hainsey, who's waited 907 regular season games just to be at this point in the playoffs to make it 6-0. 3 assists by Sidney Crosby, and a 2-minute roughing penalty. Do you see what he did to PK Subban?
Yeah, there's been a lot of animosity in this series between those two. In fact, Crosby even went so far as to say that that Subban had a halitosis problem.
Stank breath.
Which I thought was kind of childish, to be honest with you.
Oh, even PK Subban was so perplexed after, I think it was Game 3.
At least he had a sense of humor about it, toting the bottle of Listerine after he made it to the arena.
I wonder, did Listerine pay for that advertising?
I think he might be in negotiations right now to be a spokesperson for them.
I know. It was just really funny, but what was not funny was what took place in Game 5. The way that Sidney Crosby, not only did he punch PK Subban, he literally smacked his head onto the pavement in the ice.
Grinded his face on that ice right there, and it's only going to infuriate Crosby haters even more going into next season.
And he got a 2-minute roughing. And did you see what he also did in the game? He threw his water bottle onto the ice and then had the cojones to say, "Oh, it's by accident."
No, that was completely premeditated and on purpose. I mean, who's he trying to kid?
I'm like, it amazes me that he even did something that childish, that immature, that unprofessional, of a player to do something like that. It's mind-boggling, but nonetheless, he did get those 3 assists. He did help his team win that game 6-0. Then came Game 6 last night, and it was pretty much even up until the disallowed goal. Yeah, Colton Sissons had this goal in the second period.
Mm-hmm. If you listen to the replays over and over, there was a faint, at the most, sound of the whistle, which I was able to hear. The refs made the right call disallowing that goal because the whistle had blown.
I think
stopping play.
He really wasn't paying attention. I think he prematurely blew the whistle and therefore cost Memphis a chance to be up 1-0.
Memphis or Nashville?
Yeah, Nashville 1-0. And it just really baffled me. And then how about the third period posts that were hit by both Forsberg and Sissons? That didn't help either. It wasn't until the last 1 minute and 32 seconds left. And
there were also these saves that Matt Murray made that were really defying logic. I mean, some of which I'm still trying to imagine how he was able to have enough athletic ability to reach over and knock the puck away.
Yeah, the last, Patrick Hornquist with 1:35 banks the shot off of Pekka Rinne's left shoulder. 1:35 to go in the game, gets the game winner. And then, of course, Carl Hagelin, former New York Ranger, gets the empty netter at the very end. When he goes up the middle, 2-0, they end up winning. And they become the first team since the 97 and 98 Red Wings to win back-to-back titles. Crosby won his second consecutive Conn Smythe Trophy, which is the league MVP. He had 8 points in this finals alone. The one goal that he had in Game 4, and then he had the remaining 7 points, 3 of which those assists came in the previous game, Game 5.
Funny that you mentioned Hornquist getting the game winner. Hornquist was a Predators draft pick in 2005, and he spent his first 6 NHL seasons with the Predators. Actually had a really good 6 years with the Predators. I think he scored about 300 goals in 6 years with the Preds before getting traded in the summer of 2014, and he's paid a lot of dividends for that team. And Carl Hagelin, the same Carl Hagelin who the Rangers basically gave up on 2 summers ago, and I have no idea why, has been more than a productive player for the Rangers, and now he gets his second ring out of it.
Yeah, he gets his second ring out of it, which is unbelievable. How about their coach, Sullivan, has yet to lose a playoff series since taking over for the fired Mike Johnston as behind the bench for the Penguins. Again, 2 Conn Smythe trophies for Crosby, 3 trophies, Stanley Cup championships. That's one more than the current owner, Mario Lemieux, had when he won in 91 and 92.
Yep, it's 5 now for the Penguins, which means they have the exact, or maybe one less amount of championships than what the Steelers won in Super Bowls. But this begs the question. Crosby now has 3 titles. Does this put him among the greats of all time?
I think it puts him in the conversation for sure. 20th all-time still in points in the postseason era. 3 alone with this team since he came aboard at the age of, 18 when he started from Halifax, Nova Scotia. The fact that in this calendar year, he won 2 Conn Smythe trophies and the World Hockey Championships for Canada.
Yeah.
That's some pretty damn good accolades right there for this guy. Even though I'm not happy with the way he behaved in Game 5, I'm not going to condone that type of behavior, and I don't think any person should.
Yeah.
But as a player, just putting the other things aside, as a player, he's great.
Yeah.
The guy can skate, for sure. I think Ovechkin, he could be in the conversation, but he needs to win championships. I know people don't like to hear that, but greatness sometimes does equate to championships. Even though in sports there have been great players who have never won a championship, like Dan Marino and Barry Sanders. Both these guys, great players who have never won a championship.
Mm-hmm. Dan Marino, Barry Sanders in the NFL, Patrick Ewing, Dominique Wilkins in the NBA. Major League Baseball had so many guys. I mean, you had Dale Murphy, who played for the Braves, and quite a few others. But now that the season is over, we can look ahead to the draft that's going to be taking place in a couple of weeks. And the Devils are going to have the first overall pick. And they've been working out quite a few young guys recently.
I don't know. It should be fun and exciting. We've seen, a lot of these young players emerge to be the top players. Mm-hmm. Especially Edmonton has been, the recipient of a lot of these early round picks, and it's really showing. Edmonton is a team to look toward next year. The Predators are going to be in the conversation for sure. Chicago should be embarrassed for themselves. Not only did they get swept out of the first round, but they have no cap money whatsoever, very little cap money to spend on. And the Minnesota Wild, that's another team also to keep your eyes out in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
In the Eastern right now, of course, could we potentially see a three-peat with the Penguins?
Don't be surprised if you do see a three-peat from them. But now that the Capitals have laid another goose egg in the postseason, can you believe that there are actually some trade rumors involving Ovi?
To whom?
Anybody who's willing to take him and his contract.
Well, not the Rangers. There's no way they can afford his contract. And Glenn Sather, even
speaking of whom, the Rangers, Islanders, and Devils are going to be planning for the draft coming up. After seeing the Penguins win 2 championships in a row, especially Carl Hagelin getting his first 2 titles, this only makes Ranger fans shake their head even more at seeing former players hoist the cup. Exactly what do the Rangers have to do in order to even come close to the conversation of winning a title?
They need to get younger and a lot more aggressive on defense for sure. They need to give some breathing room to Lundqvist. That was the problem right there, especially when they had those leads 2-3 times when they had leads against the Ottawa Senators. They couldn't give him any breathing room whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Their power play is still a mess that needs to be worked on. The forechecking is another issue that I've always had with this team. Overall, they need to get younger and faster. They got a lot of aging veterans like Nash who they need to let go. And if I'm the Rangers, I'm hearing a lot of rumors about them in the Kevin Shattenkirk sweepstakes. Mm-hmm. He's the number 1 free agent going to next year. Then you have TJ Oshie, another player from the Capitals, too, that is a free agent next year.
Well, we got to say this. We saw some of the Rangers' young players contribute quite a bit to their regular season, where at the same time, guys like Dan Girardi, who got a rather complimentary contract extension, become major disappointments the last couple of years.
Let him go. Honestly, start all over again, Glenn. Get a whole new roster of younger players and start to groom somebody for the future to back up Lundqvist.
Yeah.
They really need to start playing because Lundqvist has a certain window, a very small window left, just like Ovechkin does, too, as well. These are guys that have these short windows that both the Rangers and Capitals need to surround. Mm-hmm. As for the Islanders next year, they're just going to be rebuilding. Yeah. It's going to be another year of rebuilding.
This past season was a major disappointment for them, especially after 2 straight years of playoff games. What do the Islanders have to do in order to get back into the postseason next year?
Well, I don't even think they're going to be in the conversation for the postseason.
And there's also the issue of their home ice situation. The people at the Barclays Center have made it loud and clear they want the Islanders out. But the question is, do they return to Nassau Coliseum, or do they try and build a new place to call home on the site of Aqueduct.
It depends on the situation. If it's financially feasible, that's the whole thing too. And the contract that they have, it depends on the lease that they signed with Brooklyn too as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a clause in there where they can get out of that lease early, depending on certain details like say average capacity per game. There's a lot of different metrics and situations and variables that will come into account whether or not the Islanders can either move from Brooklyn or they have to stay in Brooklyn. So there's so many different things that will come into play. But the conversation has grown the last 2 years.
Yep.
Ever since the day that they moved into Barclays Center, this conversation has been coming up.
Well, let's see if the Islanders can find themselves a resolution to their home situation soon.
The Devils.
As for the Devils, there's the issue of
Schneider, really.
Yeah, there's the issue of Corey Schneider, and also, what are they going to do with their first overall pick? Are they going to keep the pick, or are they going to make a trade for it?
I think they're going to keep the pick. They're going to go for the best available player on the board, like any other team would, and build around this guy. Be the smart thing, build around. They are truly going to be a rebuilding team.
Yep.
But to me, the Devils, I think, will be on the rise. Something tells me, I say in another 2 or 3 years, this Devils team is going to actually return to the playoffs and surprise us.
Is Corey Schneider going to be the guy that they want in goal? Because he's still a young guy. And
without a doubt.
He's, in spite of the 5 straight non-playoff seasons that the Devils have had, Schneider has been more than capable for them. I mean, he's done all he could.
There were seasons where he's had to overwork in spite of the team. I remember the one year where they lost in the extra periods or the shootouts where they couldn't even win when they were 0-13. I remember a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. During the regular season, and which hurt them in terms of getting points right there. Because it's all about maximizing as many points as humanly possible to get into that 18 threshold for your conference.
Yep.
So,
and also lost in this whole draft scenario is the fact that there's another draft that's going to be taking place. That's the dispersal draft the expansion draft, I should say, because the Las Vegas Golden Knights are going to be making their debut next season, and they're going to have their pick of players to choose from involving other teams.
And that's going to be interesting to see who they try and pick and all that. Stay tuned, folks. Honestly, this is that team should have a roulette table, blackjack, and every other thing that Vegas represents as their symbol with a hockey stick and a puck. I don't know. It's just I do find it ridiculous that there's a team in Vegas, but I don't know how they're going to... It's going to be obviously a T-Mobile Arena, right? That's where they're going to be playing their games.
T-Mobile Arena is going to be their home arena starting next season. And also, the Raiders are going to be calling Vegas home, I'd say around 2019 or 2020 or so.
Speaking of the Raiders right now, we're hearing rumblings that Derek Carr could become the first ever $25 million a year quarterback in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Despite what happened at the end of last season, I could see why they're doing it. The improvements he's made over the last few years, he's really deserving of this contract.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thrilled that they're trying to build around him. You got a hell of a receiver, Amari Cooper, and the fact that I think Lynch is now going to be playing next year too as well.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch officially came out of retirement so he could play for the Oakland Raiders at least for one season before they officially make the move to Vegas.
And already, I remember after they made the decision to want to move to Vegas, the people of Oakland told them they want him out right now. They don't even want to wait till they're...
Well, I hate to tell you this, but they're going to be calling Oakland home for at least another year or two before they make the move.
Speaking of the Bay Area... Now we're in the NBA Finals. Now that the NHL season's over, congratulations, Pittsburgh. You got several months. You only got a few months to rest up before September.
Yep.
And then the regular season in October. Now the NBA Finals. We all thought that this was going to end by Friday. So let's go into Game 3. The Warriors are down by 7 points. This is the first time where the Cavs are actually not playing or not getting victimized left and right and not getting bullied around the court. They actually had a 7-point lead with about 3 minutes to go. And then KD comes up with that beautiful, and I mean beautiful 3-point shot over LeBron James' head that sparked this huge run where the Cavs could not score a single point to save their lives. And basically at the very end, they lost 118, the Cavs, to the Warriors. They lost 118 to 113.
Those last 2 or 3 minutes of the game were what decided Game 3. It wasn't just Durant's tray. It was also the tremendous defense that they played against Kyrie Irving, who tried to do the hero act and go for the game-winning jumper, but he just got bottled up so well by Steph Curry. Steph's been a more underrated defender than people give him credit for. And as it turns out, it was the Warriors' defense and that big tray from Durant that wound up deciding this game.
And the fact that Durant scored 14 of his 34 points in the fourth quarter right there, that was a deciding factor. And those clanks from the right side that Irving missed from 3-point range. And the 4 free throws in the last 12.9 seconds that the Warriors scored. And for most of the game, the Cavs had the Warriors. They had, like a fighter, they had him in the corner. They had him on the ropes.
Yeah.
And they let up. And when, as a boxer, you let up as a boxer to your opponent, forget it. They'll take advantage of that and say, thank you for the mercy. Now, here's a knockout punch.
Yep.
And they now had a 3-0 lead going into Friday. And this time around, you're thinking, the Warriors, man. No team in NBA history has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. But the Cavs said, you know what? We're not going to let you guys get your 16th in a row. Screw this. And LeBron James has a triple-double for the ages. 31 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, his 9th career triple-double, 86 points in the first half, 24 three-pointers, an NBA Finals record.
If it hadn't been for that self-destruction the last 3 minutes of Game 3, then this series would be tied. But instead,
Kyle Korver, too, messed up in that game as well from 3-point range.
Yeah, he did. But now it's 3-1. The 5th game is going to be tonight.
Oh, they lost 137-116. So
And the Cavaliers wound up breaking it open, and LeBron had a tremendous game. Kyrie Irving had a tremendous game.
41 points right there. And then you had 6 3-pointers from Kevin Love, in addition to his 23 points, 5 3-pointers from J.R. Smith. He finally was shooting. The team was contributing, doing the things they should have done in the first 2 games when they were getting schooled.
Yeah.
By a combined 40-plus points.
I kind of like to see a little bit more contribution from the Cavaliers bench, though. I mean, it's great that they have their big 3 of LeBron, Kyrie, and Love, but I would like to see more contributions from Kyle Korver and J.R. Smith and Wilson Chandler, who has been nowhere.
Jefferson as well.
And Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye, who's mysteriously been benched for the last 2 games in this series. I really don't know why.
And the cast member from Kid and Play, a.k.a. Iman Shumpert. Sorry, I just, every time I look at that haircut he has, it just makes me think of the classic 80s. Anyway, and Darren Williams, too. We need to see some contributions from him, from all these guys. If they want to see another game back in the land of OHIO tonight, they got to do whatever they did in Game 4 on Friday. They got to shoot from the 3-pointer. They got to stifle Curry, which they did a great job. They reduced him to 14 points on 4 of 13 shooting. They cannot let Curry have a magical evening. Otherwise, that's it. The game is over.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing right there. Stop Curry, you stop the Warriors.
There you go.
If I'm the Warriors, on the other hand, Curry's got to contribute from 3-point range. They got to keep shooting the trays as usual. KD's got to do a good job defending and getting in James' face and irritating him a bit, which he did. They had some tense moments.
They had some really tense moments, and quite frankly, that really made the series a lot more juicy to watch on television or at the arena. And do you know this series has been more highly rated, ratings-wise, this year than last year, which is really saying something. Speaking of television ratings, those Stanley Cup finals that we just discussed, highest rated television rating to involve two teams that are not original six franchises.
Speaking of which, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the 5 championships, the most ever by a non-original six team.
Interesting.
And they tied for the 6th most all-time with the Messier and
with the Messier Oilers.
Yeah, Gretzky Oilers. And on top of all that, as they're one behind their brothers in the Steel City.
Yeah. You could probably argue that maybe the city of Pittsburgh has turned into title town now.
Oh, without a doubt, I think, especially with the Penguins now. And the Steelers are always in it. The Pirates, on the other hand, I can't say that much about them right now this year. I don't think they'll even be in World Series contention. Remember, years ago, they went to several consecutive World Series or the postseason appearances. They need a basketball team in Pittsburgh.
Well, they had an ABA team many years ago in the late 60s, but they just failed so miserably because they got zero fan support. They wound up playing in a high school gym.
How about the Pittsburgh Pits?
In front of maybe...
I'm kidding.
In front of maybe 20 or 30 people. Pittsburgh is not an NBA town, I'll tell you right now.
The closest they have to basketball is college basketball.
The University of Pittsburgh. They always have the University of Pittsburgh to fall back on, but it's the Steelers and the Penguins, and then after that, the Pirates. And let me tell you right now, it's a good thing that the city of Pittsburgh has the Penguins and the Steelers to fall back on because the Pirates have been a colossal disappointment for the last 2 years now.
And Primanti Brothers sandwiches. If you're ever in the city of Pittsburgh, you must visit Primanti Brothers. The gabagool and egg sandwich with coleslaw and french fries and tomatoes. Now, in other news coming up this week, the French Open, of course, was the second Grand Slam in tennis that took place at Roland Garros in Paris. And for the first time since 1933, an unseeded women's player won the championship. Jelena Ostapenko in 3 sets, 4-6, 6-4, 6-3 over the number 3 ranked Romanian player Simona Halep. And the thing is, Halep had her on the ropes. She won the first set 6-4. She was up 3-0, and then she lost 6 out of the last 7 games in the second set. And then the same situation in the third set. Simona was up 3-1. And basically what happens? Jelena wins the final 5 games of the third set to take her first ever championship in 8 Grand Slam appearances. She had more winners in her game in these games. And she, the fact that she had 54 unforced errors, 54 winners, unbelievable. 46 more than Halep did. It was a great, and 54 unforced errors to Halep's 10. Overall, a great performance from Ostapenko to get as far as she did. And you also have to take into account a lot of the top 10 players were knocked out pretty early in this tournament too. But overall, I feel bad for Halep. She's still searching for that first Grand Slam title. The closest she came 3 years ago, same court, losing to Sharapova.
She's still a young woman, though, so she's got plenty of opportunity to try and get that first title.
And how about for old time's sake, at the age of 31? But then again, age is just a number, especially with this guy, Rafael Nadal, who won his 15th overall, but his 10th championship at the famous Roland Garros Philippe Chatrier court, defeating the 2015 champion Stan Wawrinka of Switzerland. Yeah, unbelievable the career he's had. He's the third person in tennis history to win a title in his teens, 20s, and 30s. 2 other players did, one of them being Pete Sampras.
Yep.
He won his first title at the age of 19 on this famed court. And he was just a young kid with his shorts on, his little headband, and he still has his headband on for Nike, which is one of his sponsors. Now because he has his 15th championship, he moved into number 2 all-time in men's open era championships, just 3 behind his rival, Roger Federer, who didn't play at this tournament this year. So those two are definitely going to have something to battle over for a few more years. And in the French Open, he's 79-2 overall in his record, the French Open.
Dominant.
He owns the clay court season.
Yep.
That's his domain right there. The man from Mallorca, and he didn't lose a single set.
Yeah, that's just a testament to how tremendous he is of a player still.
At 30, it's amazing. Then again, you look at Serena Williams. She's in her 30s, and yet they're both playing like they're in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
It's great conditioning. And let's not forget, last year, he had an injury in the third round.
Yeah.
He was sitting at home, going through the motions, had off-season surgery to get his arm back in better shape, and he did that. And his forehand in better shape, and the fact that he never lost a single set, dominated in this tournament. Congratulations on winning it 6-2, 6-3, 6-1. The next tournament coming up is the grass court season, concluding with Wimbledon, which has not been his strong suit. And I'm hoping Roger Federer makes a great return. Now, as for golf, of course, the St. Jude Classic. St. Jude is a children's hospital that takes care of all pediatric cancer and any children who have medical needs without asking for an insurance card. It's a great charity and organization. They do such good work. And yesterday they had their famous tournament every single year in Memphis, Tennessee. And Daniel Berger won his second in a row with a huge 25-foot chip shot to save par. He won 4 under 66 at TPC Southwind, 3 strokes better than South African Carl Schwartzel and South Korean Wee Kim by 1 stroke. So overcoming a 3-shot deficit by winning by 1 stroke. And the next tournament coming up, the U.S. Open.
Yeah, that's right.
And Phil Mickelson actually will not be playing this year.
Yeah.
He's going to be attending his daughter's high school graduation this week. So congratulations right there. You know what? That's putting priority for family. Hopefully we'll see him in next year's tournament where he has yet to win. He's had many second-place finishes, but look at some of the favorites for this year. Dustin Johnson, who won last year, averages the best on drives and strokes, 312.1 yards. Rory McIlroy, who won this several years ago. Jordan Spieth, who, defeated Dustin Johnson on the final hole 2 years ago. John Ram, who won at the Farmers this year, third the World Golf Classic. He has good power in his striking. Hideki Matsuyama from Japan. Justin Rose, who won in 2013. Sergio Garcia, who won the Masters this year, defeating Justin Rose in that playoffs. Ricky Fowler, who wears all those crazy Pumas, who tied for second a few years ago, who's had second-place finishes. Hopefully he'll win this elusive championship. And Henrik Stenson from Sweden. And it's over 7,800 yards at Eden Hills in Wisconsin. So hopefully it's the 5th time they've hosted. So good luck to him. Ryan Blaney won the Poconos Championship, first Cup victory in his career in 68 chances. And for Wood Brothers, their 99th championship. And Money in the Bank is taking place this weekend.
This coming weekend. And just recently, WWE has been posting famous Money in the Bank ladder matches from years past on their YouTube page. One of the matches that I saw involved Kane, Roman Reigns, Sheamus,
Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt was not there. There was also Kofi Kingston.
He interfered Bray Wyatt. Yeah.
And it was the match in which
Seth Rollins.
Kofi Kingston's 2 friends from the New Day, Xavier Woods and Big E Langston, wound up interfering, but to no avail. And then there was the other Money in the Bank match that had Kane and the Big Show, who brought out a very rather large, gargantuan ladder made specifically for him because he broke 2 other ladders during the match.
Which I'm not shocked. Remember a few months ago, him and Braun Strowman had their fight in the ring where Braun took the Big Show from the top of the ropes to the little power bomb, and they broke the ring live at the end of Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
So that is not shocking to see that happen. But speaking of the matches, you got Jinder Mahal, the Punjabi Giant, the WWE Champion, taking on Randy Orton in their rematch, because Randy Orton, of course, as former champion, is entitled to a rematch in his clause. Who do you think can win that match?
To be honest with you, it could go either way, but my pick is Orton here.
As much as I like Orton, I think Jinder's gonna win. It's just too early to have him lose right now. And considering India is probably more interested now in watching WWE because they have one of their own as a champion than at any other time. To take that title away from him would piss off those billions of people. So I would not suggest doing that whatsoever. It would be a bad business decision on WWE's part. Mm-hmm. The Money in the Bank ladder match, you got Kevin Owens, the current U.S. champion, who says he's America's champion.
Even though he's from Canada.
I know. AJ Styles, who has had a great, remarkable career. You know, you talk about his days in Japan, too, as well, and Ring of Honor. Baron Corbin, former NFL player.
Yep.
Sami Zayn, also an indie wrestler for 7 years. Dolph Ziggler, who has been a veteran in WWE for, the last 10 years or so. Mm-hmm. And Shinsuke Nakamura, the new man on the scene, who they brought up from NXT. And he's really lighting things up. His in-ring mic skills are so-so.
Well, that takes time for him to try and develop his mic skills, but
and his jokes are not that funny.
People should be worried about his wrestling ability and not just his mic skills.
They don't call him the king of strong style for nothing. He does this thing called the Shinsasa kick. Mm-hmm. That can literally tear your head off in half. Mm-hmm. It's deadly. It can give you a concussion instantly if he does it at full impact. Who wins this match?
And my pick here is going to be Owens.
Kevin Owens. I'm going to AJ Styles. I'm going to go with AJ Styles. I think it's his to win. This place, SmackDown, is his house. The Tag Team Championship, the Usos, the current champions, against the New Day. Please, I hope.
Yippee!
What?
Like I said, yippee!
Please, Usos, win this match. I don't want to hear more of New Day Rocks.
I'm telling you, they need to stop with this gimmick. It's gotten really stale all of a sudden.
It's been stale for the longest time. It's unfortunate they've allowed this to keep going. And then for the first time ever, they're going to make history with a women's ladder match for the Money in the Bank. Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Tamina Snuka. Of course, my heart always goes out to her and her family. And Carmella, the princess of Staten Island.
Quote, unquote.
Who wins this match? This is Charlotte Flair's.
Yeah, I would have to for lack of a better word, put my money in the bank for Charlotte Flair.
Woo!
Well, let's quickly go to baseball right now.
And the Women's Championship, Naomi and Lana. Mm-hmm. Lana, very little skills. Naomi's going to win the match.
Right. Let's quickly go right now to what's going on in baseball, specifically how the Yankees rather convincingly completed a 3-game sweep of the Orioles over the weekend, including a 30-run outburst in the last 2 games.
And how about yesterday? They win 14-3, but that's not the best part. The best part, Aaron Judge comes up to the plate, knocks his 20th homer of the year, 496 feet to left field.
Left center field. It went over the bullpen, over the grandstand, and to the very back of the bleachers. It almost made it into
a fan's hands.
Yeah.
This close. The guy, they show it repeatedly on Yes Network yesterday. Over and over and over again.
Just to give you an idea how much of an impact Aaron Judge has had on the Yankees, he is already Major League Baseball's leading vote getter in the All-Star game. And he's been named the American League's Player of the Week for this past week.
Well, I don't blame Major League Baseball for giving him that honor. For what he's done so far for this team, he represents the rising tide for this pinstriped club, along with Sanchez, who had some home runs, and along with some of the other players. How about the second home run, which was not as impressive as the first one, but he has 21 home runs to lead the league this year right now.
And to think, 5 years ago, the Yankees' farm system was kind of sort of questionable, but now they're producing one rising star after another. They're producing Judge. They're producing Gary Sanchez. There's still the matter of Greg Bird, who's doing a rehab assignment in the minor leagues right now. It's just a matter of time before he gets his platoon spot at first base back. And just over the weekend, they wound up promoting the pitcher Domingo Germán from AAA. He wound up pitching 3 innings in yesterday's game and looked very good at it. Of course, he had to be sent back to the minors because they had to do a roster spot for someone else. But at the same time, this just goes to show you how promising the Yankees farm system is right now.
And the fact is, they won 2 out of 3 against Boston. They swept Baltimore, and now they're in the West Coast right now.
7 games in California. They're going to start with 3 games against the Angels, and then 4 games against the Oakland A's. And this is going to be a really big road trip for the Yankees, specifically for Aaron Judge, because he grew up in Northern California, so he's going to be wanting to impress his family and friends once he goes to Oakland.
And Oakland is a team ripe to I think they're going to take 3 out of 4 in that series. Honestly, Oakland is not that good of a team this year.
Yeah, unfortunately, they've had major problems with guys going on the injured list. They're short on pitching. They're very short in the batting order as well.
And the Angels are missing Mike Trout, which is a huge loss right there for another 4 weeks, unfortunately. So, they're contending with teams. They actually have a chance to do some damage on the West Coast. They got to take advantage of it. As for the Mets this past week, they lose the first game against Texas 10-8, but they win the second game. So they even that series. They're off Thursday. Then they head to Atlanta. They lose on Friday 3-2, but then comes the last 3 games. The doubleheader where they had a combined 14 runs scored and gave up only 2 runs. And then yesterday took care of business.
And more importantly, 2 very important cogs in their pitching staff. Robert Gesellman and Seth Lugo. And also, should we fail to mention another guy that wound up coming back from the injured list?
Cespedes.
Steven Matz and Yoenis Cespedes. Yoenis Cespedes, his first game back off the DL, hits a grand slam home run in game 1 of a doubleheader. Seth Lugo winds up winning one of the games. Steven Matz winds up winning one of the games in this series. If they can get their other guys back from the DL, specifically Syndergaard and David Wright, and
don't hold your breath for David Wright.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we can't hold our breath for David Wright. There's no update on him whatsoever. Syndergaard may not be back until later in the summer, and Jody Familia may not be back until probably near the end of the season. But if they can get those guys back, watch out, because the Mets could probably be a more complete team.
Well, they were a miserable team in April and May for sure. June is sort of their. It looks like they're turning the tide somewhat, but we really have to be convinced this coming week. They got a tough schedule. They got a 3-game set at home against the Cubs.
And the Mets are playing the Cubs right now, and I already see Asdrubal Cabrera has a home run, so the Mets have a 1-0 lead on the Cubs.
And then they got to play a 4-game set against the division leaders, the Nationals, who are ahead of them by 9.5 games. Mm-hmm. So if they can win 3 out of 4 in the series, then they really have something to play for. Because the rest of that division, they're all double-digit games in terms of being behind the Nationals.
Yep.
The Marlins, the Braves, and the Phillies, they're way back. The Mets are the only team in single digits behind the Nationals.
Yeah.
So right now, the Nationals are looking at this as a series where they want to take out the Mets and put them back in the same situation the other 3 teams are in.
Funny you mentioned teams having something to play for. We already know that all 30 teams could be playing for their future right now, because tonight is the baseball draft.
Yep.
It's being broadcast live on the MLB Network, and it's also streaming live on MLB.com, and we've already seen the first 5 picks of the draft. Of course, the Twins have the first pick. There was a lot of talk about what was going to happen with this prospect from the University of Louisville, Brendan McKay. Supposedly, Brendan McKay was going to be the first overall pick, but he decided he would not agree to terms with the Twins. So the Twins decided to take a utility prospect, Royce Lewis, who attends high school in California.
What's good about Royce Lewis for this?
Well, for one, He's a shortstop, and for another, he's an outfielder. They say he could be the next great five-tool player. He attends J. Serra Catholic High School in California. And after that, the Reds wound up picking second. And this is where things got really, really interesting. There's another prospect, a high school pitcher, Hunter Green, who throws more than 100 miles an hour. The Reds wound up getting Hunter Green with the second overall pick. He attends Notre Dame High School in California. And then after that, the San Diego Padres wound up picking a pitcher of their own. Could it be that maybe they got the next Madison Bumgarner? Because as it turns out, they wound up getting a lefty pitcher from North Carolina. His name is Mackenzie Gore.
Well, the Giants really are in a terrible funk this year. They're
yes.
one of the worst teams in baseball, besides the San Diego Padres. You know, it's been a massive free fall for both teams.
And I'm already hearing that Madison Bumgarner is already doing a rehab assignment for the Giants. They're hoping that he can make his way back soon so they can try and make something out of their season. Still early, though, but right now,
the Rockies.
It's the Colorado Rockies that are running the show in the National League West. And quite frankly, who saw the Rockies turn into a contender this quickly?
Well, you got Gray on the team in their pitching staff, Blackman, who's hitting well, and then of course you have some other prospects too that are really doing their job in Colorado. Arizona too is going to be contender as well for that NL West. In the Central right now, the Cubs are definitely in it, and the Brewers are in first.
Yep,
the Brewers are actually in first, which is unbelievable. And the Cubbies tonight are only a game and a half behind. So right now, this is an important series against the Mets for sure. And for the National League East, as I mentioned the Nationals are in first. The Astros are controlling the AL West. They're going to take that.
I think they're doing more than just controlling the American League West. They're turning it into a mockery right now. They're leading by double digits over everybody else. Are the Astros that great? Or is it the fact that the rest of the division is just plain terrible?
They're playing terrible, and they're doing good. It's a combination of both. They could have their first 100-win season since the 80s.
Here's some food for thought. What about the Astros becoming the first team in baseball history to win pennants in the American League and the National League?
That would be, we got history right there. And I think they're going to surprise people. You got Altuve, who's a good hitter. You got Springer right in the team. You got Dallas Keuchel, and, of course, the former Mets prospect pitcher.
Which is, if I'm not mistaken, Colin McHugh.
Yeah, Colin McHugh, both in the top of the rotation right there. So right there, everything is falling into place. The Central and the AL right now, that's where things are just a bit murky right now. You got the Indians competing, of course. You got the Tigers, too, who are definitely going to be, and the Twins. It's going to be a three-way race between those teams. The Royals, I think, are going to be selling out in the next month.
Yeah, a real disappointing season for the Royals. And when you consider the fact that this is also the year after the passing of Giordano Ventura in that car accident, things have gotten really, really, really stormy for them. As far as the Eastern Division, what must the Yankee fans be thinking right now, seeing not only their pitching staff come into place, but their young players like Aaron Judge, like Gary Sanchez, and the young veterans that they have like Starlin Castro and Didi Gregorius actually make a contribution. And it's not, well, we kind of expected it from Starlin Castro because Starlin Castro.
Gardner, too. Yeah. How about Gardner's season? It's revived as well. The only thing, though, is Ellsbury. That's the problem right there.
Yeah.
Jacoby
Ellsbury is still up in the air because of his concussion, and he isn't even doing baseball activities right now. He's only doing light workouts. He didn't even make the trip for California because he's still in Trenton doing some light workouts.
So other than that, though, the team is really in a good position, but Boston, Baltimore are going to be competing with them. I think Toronto has fell back a little bit this past week, and Tampa as well. Well, it's really going to be – I think it's going to be a three-way race with Boston and Baltimore. But at the end of the season, I think the Pinstripes are going to take the AL East.
Well, we certainly hope so, because there's another more than half the season left to play with, and there's still some matters to discuss. For example, are the Blue Jays going to get their pitching situation in order? Are the Orioles going to get their pitching situation in order? They got destroyed by the Yankees over the weekend. What about the Red Sox? This is year one without David Ortiz, and their pitching staff has been up and down at best.
Well, you still got Rick Porcello, and David Price is making his comeback, is making contributions this year, and you got some of the young veterans out, some young players, in the outfield.
Yep. Specifically Benintendi, who's been who was their top prospect and has now become the go-to guy offensively for them.
And Xander Bogaerts, too.
Xander Bogaerts, of course, who admitted that Derek Jeter was his idol growing up in Aruba.
That must make Red Sox fans. Well, I think Red Sox fans, even though they don't like the Yankees, I think they have some level of respect for Jeter. There are certain players. They probably have respect for Jeter and Rivera, like any other fan of any team. They're players that, I would think you would have some level of respect for their contributions. You may not like their team, but you can't despise the person who plays on that team for what they've contributed to the sport.
You mentioned the Rays earlier. The Rays, as it turns out, have the 4th pick overall in the draft, and they wound up taking Brendan McKay of Louisville. And it looks like those two are going to be agreeing to terms soon. And the Atlanta Braves, who we've always known have prided themselves on pitching, what do they do at number 5? They take a right-handed pitcher. Kyle Wright from Vanderbilt University is the kid that they drafted 5th overall.
What's special about Kyle Wright?
Kyle Wright is a right-handed pitcher out of Vanderbilt University who I don't want to say is the next David Price, because Price is someone who's pretty special, but at the same time, he could be somebody who could be someone who can be really, really interesting to look at. I'm going to see if I can get a scouting report on this young man.
Well, as you know, we're one summer away from the World Cup in 2018. Right now, this summer, we're seeing a lot of the different federations having their tournaments and qualifying matches. The U.S., of course, took care of business with Trinidad and Tobago. And then at the Estadio Azteca in Mexico against El Tri, El Tri, they
big tie between Team USA and Mexico last night for World Cup qualifying for next year.
Yeah, Bradley was the guy who got the tying goal for the United States. Huge point in the beginning of the game. Even though you got Christian Pulisic, Pulisic, who really is going to be a name to remember at next year's World Cup for the United States. And this whole new franchise, I'm very happy with the direction the U.S. team has gone, especially in their match against Mexico. They're going to definitely be in the top 3. They're going to qualify from CONCACAF. They're going to go to the World Cup next year. Now, the other embarrassing matches that took place, Germany defeated San Marino 7-0, Wagner getting the hat trick. So, Germany is definitely going to be working to defend their championship for sure.
Yep.
And Brazil will want to get some revenge. England will try to win their first cup in years. It's going to be I can't wait till the World Cup next season, even though it's in Russia. But who knows? Russia maybe will give us a good World Cup to remember. And as for the final horse racing jewel of the Triple Crown from Belmont Racetrack this past Saturday was the 149th running of the Belmont Stakes, and it was yet another horse, Taprit, the 5th horse in the last 9 years to have skipped the Kentucky Derby, to have competed in the Derby, skip the Preakness, and compete at Belmont and wins. And the third time for Todd Fletcher as a trainer to have that horse win, and for Jose Ortiz to win in 1.5 miles on this horse in 2 minutes, 30 seconds, .02, over the favorite, Irish Warcry, who was the 4-5 favorite in the morning, and Patch, the lovable horse of the nation with one eye, came in 3rd place.
Yeah.
What a story, though, to overcome that type of adversity and still compete. That's why, horses who have stories like that do tug at your heartstrings and make you want to root for that horse to win. And it's sad that the horse didn't win, but the fact that he came in third in the top 3, I'm happy as punch for this horse. And look at the payment that came out, though. For Tappert, $12.60, $6.50, and $5 for the 5-to-1 odd horse. Irish War Cry, $4.70, $3.90 at 5-2. And then for Patch, it was $6.50. So congratulations to all these horses that competed. Another season yet without a Triple Crown winner. So we're going to have another trend where we're going to be waiting another 30 years like we did?
Well, quite possibly, but then again, you never know. I mean, stranger things have happened so many different times. Now, you had asked me a question before in regards to Kyle Wright.
Yes.
He looks like a very slender pitcher. I'm seeing his video right now. He actually pitched for Team USA not too long ago in some international tournaments. He's a very slim guy, very, very quick delivery. So you know that the pace of the game is going to favor the Braves down the road. And also, he doesn't look like he throws particularly hard, but he looks like he has a decent enough fastball and a good enough breaking ball where he can try and go up against major league hitters.
Definitely. Speaking of baseball, a week from today, folks, mark your calendar, Monday, June 19th, the beginning of the 76-game season for the Single-A Staten Island Yankees. That's right. Baseball is back in Staten Island at Richmond County Bank Ballpark, where the Staten Island Yankees will be taking on their Crossbridge rivals, the Brooklyn Cyclones. 7 o'clock at Richmond County Bank Ballpark, and it's free jersey day. The first 1,500 fans that attend the game will receive a jersey from the Staten Island Yankees, so definitely get there as early as possible, especially on opening day. I recommend an hour and a half at least before the game.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be getting some respectable weather for that evening because you know how it is when it comes to Major League Baseball. If the weather's terrible, they may either have to postpone it as part of a doubleheader or just rain it out altogether and cancel it.
I hope not, because not only is it the opening day game, but it's a big night for City Access, an organization that provides services for children with disabilities, and they're having a 50-50. So if you're at the arena, go by the City Access booth with my mother, Eileen Rosen Company, and buy a 50-50 ticket. It's It's for a good cause.
Yep.
And not only that, a great night of baseball for the kids, for the family, and I believe there's probably going to be fireworks afterwards too.
Yeah, they're supposed to do a fireworks show. I wonder which group is going to be doing the fireworks this time, and I wonder if they're going to be the same people that are going to do a fireworks show on the 4th of July in the event that they have a game here or in Brooklyn.
Actually, it's going to be in Staten Island July 4th. Definitely go. And every week I'll be coming up with announcements for Staten Island Yankee games throughout their season. Definitely take the kids, take the family. And not only that, a lot of the players that we've seen, like not Aaron Judge, but we've seen Gary Sanchez. He was a Staten Island Yankee. Started out. Brett Gardner, a Staten Island Yankee too, by the way. Ching-Ming Wang at one point was with the Staten Island Yankees. So you're seeing potentially the future of your franchise right there.
Quite possibly.
Against the Mets' possible future.
Oh, speaking of the Mets, I just saw Jay Bruce hit a 2-run home run, so now the Mets have a 3-0 lead over the Cubs in the 3rd inning right now. So before we wrap up, I just want to say thanks once again to everyone who's been watching us at home. Thanks to Kenny Graham on the other side of the glass. And, of course, thanks to you, Eric, for joining us always. Again, get well soon, Jennifer. I miss you and I love you. So for everyone here, I'm Jaime.
And I'm Eric. Happy Father's Day and happy birthday, Mom, this Sunday. Love you.
And we hope to see you next time. Good night, everyone.
Peace.